Can I say one more thing that I did
Right.
want to touch on
Sure.
while I have the chance?
Right.
Because this is for, like founders and like, people in small business, right? I didn't know better at the time. Well, of course I knew better because I have common sense, of course.
Right. Sure.
But being as small as I am and, just having this vision that you're eager to get out, there was still the temptation there, even though I knew it was wrong. Just for people that are out there, like small business owners, don't be afraid to say no. Like if you get a chance for funding or, with a bigger company that says they want to invest in you, read. Like you make sure you go over your contracts, read the terms of that contract. Read it again. Like, make sure you understand it. And if it isn't in your favor, walk away. Like, you gotta just trust that another opportunity will come.
All right. Welcome to our show. This is your host, Donald J. Kaisamba with Sync Consultants LLC or at Sync Consultants LLC. I'm excited to have EcoPrint AI founder and CEO, Adrian Young. It's good to have you again. We had you here about, 6-8 months ago?
Yeah.
And I'm excited to have you here again to let us know where we were and where are we right now. So it's good to have you. Just get a couple of seconds here to have Adrian, you can reintroduce yourself about who you are and what's currently going on with EcoPrint AI.
All right. Thank you, Donald. Thank you. I'm Adrian Young. I'm a student / founder / CEO, however you want to say it, of EcoPrint AI. So the last time I was with you was back in August, and I think that was when I first started. I started building in June. So August was when I got registered as like an official entity. But for the last 6 months, I've been learning the ropes and just growing as I'm learning everything, and pretty much head down. And where we're at now from where we were before, pretty much it evolved from basically a simple calculator, like a carbon calculator, to
Great.
now it's becoming a high performance telemetry engine, basically. So basically what I did was I moved to a C+ core, and I'm like transitioning into an API first software where it handles real-time power and water usage efficiency, which is something that you were speaking on before that I noticed in one of your videos. But the thing is that it tracks it at the hardware level. So it can bypass all of the extra API calls that most data centers have to rely on now, where there's more latency there, basically. So the mission is to provide a black box for data centers. So it's not just for ESG compliance under like all these new laws that are coming out, but basically it's a critical layer for grid resilience, basically, and national security. So recently, one of the big milestones that I have is that I registered on SAM.gov. So I have a UEI and cage number now.
Okay.
So for my next step is I've done some verification testing for the logic of my new algorithm.
Okay.
So the next thing is to really plug it in and start doing comparisons versus what's out there and what I have. So that's where I'm at. And of course, I got my first client, and I didn't really like, and they wanted me, and I didn't really like take advantage of that. So I could have had my first LOI, but I'm planning on doing that. I want to do it like within the next 6 months. I want to try to get 3 LOIs. So the door is still open with that potential client, but I want to start moving into actual fundraising, like once I know I'm ready. So that's where I'm at.
Perfect. Awesome. I'm really excited that you got your first client. I know we were talking behind the scene and how a business owner got to focus on the product and what the customer wants, and how sometimes they will. One of the guidance that one of my other CEO friends that I work with, also he was on the show. One of the idea was get the market screaming and yelling for your product. I want you before you build it. So I'm thinking when it comes to data center and the use of, I would say, AI, EcoPrint just is that final thing that you literally people are starting to look into and be like, what is energy consuming all this AI and all that? So can you let our audience know again specifically what is EcoPrint and what does it do as a product?
EcoPrint is basically, how can I put it simply? It's like a Overwatch layer, like for the grid. So basically, it started off, it was just tracking carbon. Now we can do the focus for EcoPrint specifically is scope 3 emissions,
Okay.
but we handle scope 2 and scope 3 with what I'm building. So basically we monitor, like what the software is supposed to do is monitor what's going down, like as far as energy pool, emissions, and water usage. And it tracks it for you and it pretty much automates it, but it's observe only pretty much. So it doesn't take any kind of action. And one of the things recently, I went to a industry days for Space Command. Like I was on SAM.gov looking at contracts and stuff like that. And this is actually the type of software that they're looking for right now. You made a really great quote that I had just said the same day earlier,
Right.
where it's like the big race right now in AI is efficiency. So doing more with less energy. And it's crazy because like these governments out here are actually looking for that. And I have exactly what they're looking for in the works, really. Yeah, that's what it does.
All right. So thank you for that. Thank you for giving us a rundown on EcoPrint and what you're actually about. I think we want to start the series and spend a couple of minutes and figure out from you, based on where you were the last time, what really has changed. And what we're trying to get here is what EcoPrint was at the last episode. What's different now? So I think we talked about V3, secured production repo, first client, and biggest founder lesson since the last time. So can you we spend some time here and talk about what really has changed with EcoPrint from the last time?
Yes, so much. I have to say the biggest change with EcoPrint, I would have to start with myself versus 6 months ago. It's funny, like when you can look back on something and you like and compare it to yourself now and you see so much growth. Man, I was such a baby, dude. Like you big bro'd me on that last one. Like you sat me down and you're like, look, man, I didn't know what I was doing. I know a lot more now, but I still feel like I don't. But I've learned so much. Like before, I couldn't even tell you what my stack was. Like I was doing a lot of vibe coding and things like that. I moved it to the site and everything to my local environment. Now I'm building everything on my own. But EcoPrint itself, where it's grown, it's crazy how it's evolved. The vision was huge before and now it's huger, but it was so simple before. It was like you just go on the website, you see this little calculator, you put your token count in, and we make a good estimate on what your CO2 emissions are. Now with the V3 engine, with that in the works, it's not going to just be a guess anymore. And that's the thing with what's going on with basically like all these tracking softwares now that devs use. At best, it's just a good estimate. Now with me tracking it at the hardware level, we can get actual real accuracy here. So that's the hugest change for the direction EcoPrint has gone. But yeah.
All right. I think you mentioned V3 architecture, right? Can you, and again, just want to just touch base on that module, right? So what you built and why on that V?
Like most things, basically the core is a C+ core. And the whole thing was that it's like a lot of this stuff is usually built in like Python and it's good, but there's the problem with that is Python isn't really built to handle the speed as well. And Python doesn't really Python doesn't talk at the hardware level. It doesn't actually talk to the chips and all that stuff. So C+ is what handles that pretty much like low level like stuff. So right. I figured the thing that I'm looking for right now, and I think I verified it now, I do have it, but I wanted to build it with zero latency, basically. And I wanted something that was lightweight. And if it's supposed to be helping track power usage and help it be more efficient, it can't add too much to the load, to the workload. Right. So I needed it to be lightweight. So it needs to do its job without slowing down the actual AI model. And that's why I built it with C+.
Okay.
The extra little, like first it was just PUE, just the energy. And I got the idea, like, cause we talk so much about water now. That's the hugest thing with the government now, that with that executive order, they just implemented AI into pretty much every department of the federal government here in America. And the biggest concern with that from the people is energy. Like, what about the grid? This is dangerous. So when I saw those headlines start hitting the news everywhere, like I swear I jumped out of my seat. Oh my God, dude, this is perfect timing. So yeah, that's the whole thing with the C++, with the V3 engine. I don't think anybody's doing that yet.
Awesome. So when we're talking about coming down from that V3, measuring credibility, right? So the PUE, UE, and the telemetry. What, from your perspective, what is your take on what do you think PUE means operational?
Pretty much it's doing as much as you can with the energy that you have, basically getting more bang for your buck with your energy. You don't want to be leaking energy or taking longer to do things. Basically, what we're tracking is pretty much any kind of leakages with that energy to help you be more efficient. And what we do, like I said, what it actually became, EcoPrint now, another big thing that it became was that it's pretty much a whole suite now. It's like a whole dashboard of components that pretty much take this info that it gets from you running workloads, and it's like the big part of the view that it started as, that's still there, is that it's supposed to make compliance easier. So we track the PUE and we make a report for it for you, rather than it's pretty much the big hard thing about compliance right now is that most data centers are running blind on this. They don't know how to track these things yet. So right. That's what the whole thing is with the PUE. Sorry about that. That was long.
Sure, no worries. We want to elaborate, right? There is no time constraint here, Adrian. So feel free to elaborate as much as you can. So what about the WUE? How does that actually relate to maybe in terms of what matters now?
Okay. Now that one is really interesting because that one threw me for a loop. Like I sat like for hours thinking about that one, and I had to bouncing that back and forth off AI. So what about this? What could we do for water? Like how would I track this? And the crazy thing about these calculations that people have to understand is that there are so many factors, and that's that's ultimately what makes this so hard to get an accurate number when you're tracking this stuff. So for the water usage efficiency, basically what it does is it's a function, like I added it into the V3 algorithm. And basically, in a sense, it works with the PUE, but it's tracking like heat, and it pretty much determines how much water is being used like per hour, or how many liters per hour or whatever is being used to cool this system. So It's not just heat or whatever, it also has to go into, it does still require some API usage for calls because we need real-time grid metrics, depending on your geographical location and things like that. So all of that stuff is still implemented, but the function is just by itself. That's what it does.
So while you were doing this UE, PUE, what data sources do you believe are realistic versus fantasy?
That's the part that I'm still working on right now as far as tracking. So like I had to really sit down and make sure I was like testing the right things. So say right now, I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle for me, and why I need the LOIs so badly is to get actual real metrics, like real world metrics. Right now, what I have is pretty much just my computer. So I'm just running it. I'm running models on my computer, and I'm just testing, sitting here with a multimeter and testing the voltage and making sure that it matches. So what I really want is to get real world data, like to plug this into a real data center, like maybe a cluster of servers, and get the actual data. Because I don't think, how do I put this? Honestly, this technology is needed right now. It's so timely. Like, I don't understand why nobody else is doing this. And that was a huge question for me. And the answer I came up with ultimately, I think that big tech companies don't really want this. And I think it's because you got to think like I learned some huge things watching your, and when you spoke on the race for energy and the power grid and how they're getting all these huge contracts and all this stuff going on. And that was what led my answer. I'm like, that's like the only plausible reason is like, they don't really want this stuff because they don't want people to really know how much is just like, they got teams spend billions of dollars on engineers and things like that. Somebody could have built this already. I don't think depending on APIs from like big companies is the answer to this really. If you want to know, I hope that answers your question as far as what do I feel like is real and what do I feel like is fantasy. I'm not sure.
Yeah, definitely. Just the point there. And then when it comes to like your test and all that, so can you just let us know how did that go? What verification test did you run? And just a summary of that, and then what were your outcome?
Actually, it's so crazy. I have some of this stuff out right now in my VS Studio.
Nice.
But basically, what I did is right now for the verification test, I'm just testing the logic to make sure that it works the way that it's supposed to. And that works perfectly. Like I said, the logical next step is to actually plug it in. So basically, what I'm doing is working with mock data. And the mock data would be like, say, I'm in Indiana. The grid here runs pretty much off of a lot of coal, dirty energy. So I put in these different metrics for different times of the day, different conditions, and we see if the numbers match up the way that they're supposed to. And so far, everything is coming out great. This, what I'm looking at right now, I started documentation because part of getting the UEI and all that stuff is eventually I want to go after a research grant. So I started getting my documentation together for that while I'm running these tests and things like that. Like basically, I put together pretty much like a document revision history for the show like the build that is working and show like pretty much the evolution of the function. So it starts off as just like the pseudocode and then the logic and then the actual algorithm itself. So I have all of this stuff documented. Now I feel like I'm all over the place. I'm a little embarrassed. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. So as long as you have your documentation, your tracking and all that. So I think the other area we wanted to just dive a little bit was the governance, compliance, the buyer's real objections. Why do you think sustainability metrics fail procurement?
I think it's because, like I said, people were running into this blind. They don't really
Right.
know what they're tracking. And that's the whole reason for EcoPrint AI is to, like we talked about before, is to make these invisible metrics, not just emissions, but these invisible metrics, make them visible, make them easy to handle, and thus easier to improve where needed.
How are you currently thinking about the ESG reporting and disclosure pressure?
It's 2026 now. It's already on. For me, it's like I said, I'm building this as a like I'm a solo founder, I'm a student, I'm still learning, building my expertise as I'm doing this. I really wish I had more help to get this out sooner, like seriously, because this year is the year. By 2030, it's going to be set in stone. I really want to get this out there to people. I know it's useful. Like there's definitely a huge gap for it. So yeah.
What do you think? What do you think? It's of course as a product, right? So or as a business, money is very important for you to scale. So as a, I would say, you're launching this new product, you need some form of support. What are key areas do you think as a US based business, as a startup, or as somebody that has you've progressed from let's say step one to where you at now? Right. So what are the key areas do you feel like can help you grow or get better results faster?
There's so much there to me. And like the only reason I'm saying it like that, I don't mean to be vague or anything like that, but it's you have to understand when I started this, I was pretty much a freshman in college with no real technical background. So literally, I started this from ground zero with my knowledge, which is probably a good thing in a sense. But in the scope of this software and this company, I have to literally learn so many different languages. I have to know how to walk in and guide these conversations. I have to know about ESG reporting and CS, ESRP in Europe and the California stuff. I have to know all of this stuff. And I have to know like what's significant about it to make EcoPrint do what it's supposed to do and really be useful. And then not even just that on the technical side. That's political stuff and environmental stuff. Then there's the technical side, and then there's the business side, I'm learning all of this at once. So man, I pretty much need help everywhere. So that's what I mean. I'm not trying to be vague.
Definitely.
But one thing that you told me to do, I really want you to know how much I appreciated your advice the last time I talked to you.
Sure.
I felt disappointed. I felt like you were expecting more from me, but I was also really excited with the advice you gave me. Like I saw it as nothing but a learning moment for myself. I'm like, all right, this didn't go as good as I thought it would, but it showed me how much I didn't know and how much I needed to grow. So you told me before that I should look into getting a mentor, and I haven't found one yet, but I pick up gems from whoever I can, wherever I can. So you'll catch me picking my professor's brains or just whoever I can. Sorry, I think that's about the best I can say on that, man. I'm trying to find other insight and other expertise to help me build this where I can.
So one of the things, Adrian, as you have obtained your SAM registration. You were registered, I guess, U.S. vendor. What services did you register at? So what can you provide the government right now?
Oh, you mean like the NASAC codes? I believe that's what they're
Oh,
called.
the codes are the codes, but really, like core delivery is you, the business. So let's say if you have to work with someone, let's say another firm that does similar to what you do, what would you support them to get done?
Pretty much, it would be more like modular surveillance of basically their energy.
Okay,
And reporting of that, like tracking and reporting. So I understood your question. I'm sorry. I was
great.
just like, that was just the reference in my mind. It was I always say NAICS, whatever those codes. But
Yeah.
pretty much at a modular level, though, because from what I'm seeing, that's what the government wants right now. They don't. And another thing that's important about that is that they want tools. There's two things that they want right now. They want tools that are already built, and they want tools that are modular that they can just plug in to what they
Right.
already have. So my tool isn't already built, but it is modular. So I can offer basically efficiency, if you would, as a service,
Okay.
or efficiency monitoring. So that's how I'll put it basically.
So
Optimization, that's what it is.
exactly. So my recommendation when you're researching on SAM.gov or you're doing, let's say, looking at contracts, mostly finding an organization or IT firm or AI firm or that really can use your services and you can support them as a subcontractor. You can build tremendous revenue that way. And then from there, you can pivot that into your current product and actually scale it or get it completed. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
You offer a service to monitor, I would say, a public product, one that's already making significant amount of contribution to the world. You help them define that EcoPrint, or I would say MVP thing. And then from there, you can go back and reinvest in your product. And in that way, you're supporting somebody that needs your services now. And then you get that done. And then you go back and then you just add value to your current MVP that you're working on.
Thank you. No, I had already looked into working as a subcontractor, but it wasn't something I was actually looking for right now when I do search the website. The way
Right.
you just broke it down, that makes perfect sense actually, because you just cleared the hurdle that I have. I'm not actually complete product yet. Thank you. Thank you. Like seriously.
Great. Okay. So let's go into your first client, right? Can you share that experience, right? So what did the Chicago client wanted? What's the solid first approach? Well, just let us know how that packaging went out for you and how did you get all that stuff done? Or what are you currently doing?
No, actually, I didn't ever close like any kind of deal with the client. And this is like extreme honesty right now as a founder, because I know I'm not the only one who makes these mistakes. And I like to share like my failures with people too,
Right.
because it's literally part of the journey. But I had my daughters for the weekend and I go check the mail and I got a letter, company letterhead, and it's from a marketing company that I've never heard of.
Right.
So I opened the letter. And they're saying pretty much, I guess the director of this firm, I guess a friend of his, he gave me a ride in his Uber. And we started talking to an Uber driver and stuff. And we started talking about EcoPrint.
Right.
And I guess he was just so fascinated with the idea. Like he was so impressed that he passed the information on. So they looked me up and they sent a letter to my registered agent who forwarded it to me.
Right.
This is the huge moment as a founder where for me, I was so excited, but at the same time, I was also terrified, which is not, I think that's natural, but it's not good, of course. So before I even tried to respond, man, I sat reading that letter for a week, like just rereading it, like excited, but I'm just like, dude, am I ready for this? Am I ready for this? And you know what? I wasn't ready at the time. Like I wasn't. So what they wanted from me it was a marketing firm. They wanted me to help them, like basically what I just told you. They wanted me to help optimize their data.
Okay.
And I didn't move forward with it just out of fear. So now it's like moving forward, the door is still open with them. And now I feel like I'm ready, like to actually make that move.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna lie, I'm embarrassed. Like it was all good. Like there was no bad blood or any of that kind of stuff. And they told me to reach out when I was ready. But I'm just young founder, I'm really ashamed of that situation. But like I said, I still know it's a growing experience. So that's why I'm saying in the next 6 months, I want to say by the end of summer, I want to get my 3 LOIs down. And of course, I want them to be one of them. I just need to get over my nerves and reach out and make that happen.
So next time you should get me involved in that type of, I would say, development, right? Because I could have been great support for you to align that to make sure that you're ready to go and support that client. And a lot of times it's not like Adrian have to do all the work. Adrian have to have the right partners involved to execute the work.
You know what? No, absolutely. I agree with you on that. And that's why I said I think so much. Like I'm not gonna say like I sit here and rack my brain about it, but when you gave me that advice about getting a mentor, that is something that I really think about. Because yeah, it's like when you're doing this type of stuff and you're trying to make this type of progress and grow, not just like a company, but as a person, you have to have the right people to talk to and get guidance from. And me, where I'm at, I don't really have anybody to bounce those kind of ideas off of. So I'm just processing everything on my own and I'm just figuring it out as I go. And like even looking at like grants, like applications for grants and like these contracts and stuff, that is one of their requirements, that they do want you to have partners, stuff that shows that you're already established. Yeah, but I didn't want to reach out. I told you I would come back to you and when I could pay you. That was the whole thing. I'm like, I got to make this money. Because no, I really, eventually I do want to come to you as a client where we're on that level. Look, I did it, man.
Absolutely. But again, I think reaching out to me and like letting me know what you have on the radar and how to best support someone without making them feel like you're not ready is more, that shouldn't happen, right? You should never be in that situation. But that's why I'm offering that whenever that should always reach out to me and let me know what's going on so we can tighten it up for you.
Thank you.
Because at the end of the day, when you acquire, then you're able to pay my fees.
Definitely. You know what? I don't know, man. I like what you do. And I think it's really important, especially for people in my position. I don't like when you reached out to me before you said that. And I saw some of the content you put out after our last podcast interview. And you were like inspirational story and all this type of stuff. And I'm just like, me? Inspirational? But no, I get it though, because it is really important for the small people to see that they can make stuff happen like this. It's not going to happen overnight, but you can do it. It doesn't really matter your level of education. It doesn't, like, you can learn and you can make it happen. Because me personally, with my experience in entrepreneurship, I've always been the type to just jump in and figure it out as I go. And it usually works out. But that's why I'm just saying, I really respect what you do. Like, it really does really sit with me. So thank you for what you do from us.
Thank you.
Small people.
So where does the future holds right now? What do you think based on what we started with, where we at now? What is it for EcoPrint AI? Where are you headed? Let's say in the next 12, 24 months.
Like I said, I want to have those LOIs done for basically like shadow monitoring.
Okay.
I want to get into that within the next 6 months so that I can really have a proof of work to show that there is a demand for this and that it does work. And then from there, I really want to start not only generating revenue, but also go into, I'm sorry, excuse me, but also go into my first round of actual fundraising. So I'm hoping within, if you want to talk about the next 18 to 24 months, like, I want to see EcoPrint on hats, and I want to really see the name big within the next 24 months. This is the thing with that, right? When we talk about growth 6 months ago to now.
Right.
I think I'm a bit more grounded now versus when I first started. I didn't know exactly what I was talking about back then as far as the business side of stuff.
Right.
Whereas I'm thinking that I'm going to show people this idea I have and it's just I'm going to make billions. And it doesn't work like that, man. You got to build it up first. I've learned. I'm not saying that like I'm going to be Amazon or something like that in the next 24 months, but I do want to be generating at least hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue by then. I think that is realistic, absolutely realistic.
All right. Let's start again. Let's reintroduce. What type of business or what type of company or product can EcoPrint AI support a narrative, right? So more like a story, like an existing company that everybody knows that it has, or what type of challenges or what type of problems can you solve right now?
Actually, I think for me, I would really like to go for data centers.
Okay.
I think that's where the software would be like most useful. Also, something that I have been looking into is like manufacturers and things like that, because like we said, AI is like being used everywhere now. Like it doesn't matter the business. But I think we could like, I'm sorry, man. I'm losing my train of thought here.
No, it's fine.
No, because this is one of the things that I've actually been researching into, and you were the one who gave me the question. That's why I like talking to you so much. The things that I'm not thinking about, that I'm not ready for, you make me really start to, oh, okay, I needed to be prepared for this. But
Right. Right. So that's a key idea concept of who can you help, what company, and what problems. So I like the fact that you mentioned data centers, right? So data centers is huge right now in the US and maybe major countries that are like exploding with AI like we are. But data centers are huge, right? So they're being developed everywhere. There's pretty new data center projects throughout the country as well. So from an EcoPrint small business perspective, how can you support a data center? I know you said the product, but how can you support them? What can you do for them?
like I said, like what we're about is optimization. We can help them optimize. We can give them the metrics they need to better optimize their workloads and their systems. One of the like as far as data centers, and especially me I live next to Lake Michigan, and you know how that goes. Water data center here popping up. So I'm really like looking for ends, like really trying to get my name out there to look for ends and make sure that I'm ready for that. I feel like I'm like what I have now, I can definitely do it. I just want to have the documentation down where I can prove it first. Where basically a big part of this, when you're doing all this testing, what it's really about is de-risking yourself to potential clients and investors and things like that. So that's my biggest thing right now. And of course, building my own confidence, because it's when you know you have a product that works, who can tell you anything? No, plug that in, let's run this. I feel like outside of data centers, I feel like pretty much what the software is made for is to basically track AI workloads. That's the wedge right now. It's AI. I'm hoping to eventually go into pretty much anything that runs on the internet or any kind of embedded system. But that's pretty much the answer to your last question. Pretty much like the software is built to help any company that uses AI and to optimize their workloads and make it more efficient for them. So they're saving money, they're saving energy, they're saving money on energy bills, they're saving money and headaches on compliance, like ESG compliance. But where we are right now is pretty much just tracking the energy. As far as the federal government goes, like the Department of Energy, what I'm looking at right now, one of my friends, he gave me a really good idea. He works in cybersecurity, and
Okay.
he has a startup of his own, really interesting stuff. His is more on like in education though, AI and education. We were bouncing some ideas off of each other. And he told me, he was like, hey, like with my work in cybersecurity, you know that your work, EcoPrint could actually have some interesting use cases. Not in cybersecurity, but in national defense. He didn't elaborate too much into it or whatever. Like he gave me the idea, and I had to dig into it. And I'm like, whoa. And that's where it comes into resilience. I have a tool called, it's just basically an anomaly detector, where basically what it does is, you know, exactly what the name says. It detects anomalies in basically your workflow. It tracks the energy. And then on that level where I'm getting into the national defense is, it could track anomalies on the grid level.
Okay.
So basically that's also where when you started speaking on crypto, all the crypto mining and things like that, where it's like, we could track this, we could stop these spikes. Like we can basically get ahead of this stuff before it happens, especially with the C+ core. And the other part of that is though, there's two sides to that national defense thing. It's basically monitoring the grid and pretty much protecting that, keeping it more efficient. But also it can protect against foreign threats. So say if you got like a foreign agent, cyber farms or whatever, server farms, we can detect anomalies from say like somebody trying to hack a server or something like that, or hack the grid at its most vulnerable points when there's like overload, basically. Those are like, I think I'm all over the place with your questions right now, but that's one of the things that
I think
goes
you're right.
into
I think you're right there, because one of the areas that I was actually trying to get you to get into was more of the national and global security angle, right? Where you talk about grid strain, abnormal loads, data center clustering, anomaly detection concept, right? What it does, right? Not how, but what it does. Why sustainability intersects resilience and national readiness, right? What are the guardrails, right? What you want, or what don't you or you wouldn't share publicly. So these are that concept there I was trying to get at. So
No, no,
you just where you were right there.
yeah, no, I don't mind. These are things that I've actually been excited to tell you about. Nobody's working on it right now, and it's stuff that we need. So it's not like I need to hide it. I'm already working on it anyway. But one of the hugest ideas that I think have come out of that use case that I think could be a really great idea in the future for energy efficiency is this type of software. Remember I was telling you before about one of the functions, like functionalities that I built into the EcoPrint dashboard was like smart prompting.
Right.
Where it could like basically you put your prompt out there and it could tell you, it can give you a more efficient version of the prompt, or also when it measures your metrics or whatever, as it's tracking your usage history, it can give you smart suggestions as far as if you want, you can save this much CO2 if you shut down your computer at this time of day to avoid idle work sessions, or if you do your workload at this time of day because the energy is cleaner, like stuff like that. With this new use case that I stumbled into, I came up with this idea for what if we made, it's just an idea right now. What if we made workload scheduling? Like we made like a marketplace almost for like workload scheduling. And I know that sounds far-fetched, but I think that is really a viable like kind of solution to what's going on right now, where
Right.
everybody's fighting over the grid pretty much.
That definitely is something to think about. That's definitely something to think about. Definitely.
I don't know, man. Being honest, and that's one thing that I do with my clients. One of the things I had to learn was I'm learning all these different languages.
Right.
I went to the industry days with the Space Force or whatever, with the US Space Force. And that was the one thing that stood out to me, where I'm just here for experience. I want to know what they want and where I stand right now as far as being able to offer that to them. But I also know that I need to know the language of the rooms that I'm entering into. So I need to know how to speak when I'm talking to government officials, or how to word things on contracts and on these documents that I have to do. But I'm just like, man, I'm in awe of everything that I'm learning about this scope. And just there's so many factors. It's like I said, I haven't played my video game since November, man. Because lately, especially as I'm taking on new roles at school and I'm still building EcoPrint, and now I'm actually building tools for school too. I'm learning as a founder, and especially with EcoPrint. I read Steve Jobs, his biography, and one of the things that it spoke on was, I heard Kevin O'Leary speak on this in a post. I saw a post online, and that's what kind of brought it back to me. But have you ever heard of the concept of signal to noise ratio?
Yeah, something like that.
I've been implementing that, not even, but like I've been implementing that into the way I work. And like I'm not at 0% noise right now, like nowhere near it, but I get stuff done so much faster. So I feel like with my new mindset and my new approach on learning, and because at first, man, I was such a baby with this. I still am, but like I just focus on one thing that I need to do, and I just get it done. I set a timeline for Steve Jobs or say Elon Musk or people like that. They'll be like, what's 3 things I need to get done in the next 18 or 24 hours or something like that. Me, I just say, hey, what's 2 things I need to get done in the next 12 hours? And I've been knocking stuff out. So I really want to, I feel like there's such potential for this use case with the grid resilience. I want to build this. I really want to get this to the point where it's ready. Yeah, sorry.
Now, based on what you were saying, as I was listening, you're talking about you need more testing, or you need more, I guess you need more documented outcomes, right? Or a documented, I would say, what is it, beta testing? So for now, you can also find resources that will allow you to sandbox and get more testing done. Right?
Yeah, I saw that with the IEE or whatever. I saw that they had something like that. So I'm definitely looking into that. Man, what I need more than anything, I feel like right now, is expertise.
Okay.
So I'm actually, you know what? It's like a match made in heaven with the AI club, because I know now people are starting to reach out to me about that. I know there are other students that would like definitely that know more than me that would be interested in this project. So it's a work in progress, but I'm getting there. I'm going to figure it out. And I'm definitely going to be reaching out to you the next time I get with my next client.
Yeah, there's so much more resources and tools, right? So when you want expertise, is because there's something that's failing that you can't figure out, right? So that's why you need an expert, right? And as long as you have it documented, you can literally use a tool that can help you figure out what exactly are key areas that you need to, probably step by step, that you need to go over and walk through. Expert is, I would say, it all depends on what you need. And as long as you have your field rate and what it is you need to do or know, and it's documented and you need answers, so that's why you will need an expert.
Yeah, as far as getting things built, like I'm building things and I'm doing it right. But I feel like the build could go faster if I just had like somebody else that probably knew a bit more about me just for guidance. Because man, I built certain components of this and literally had to start all over because like there was a better way to build it, or there was a like stuff like that. Just talking to people, even talking to you, there are things where I have to go back to the drawing board where I'm like, Donald made a good point there. I didn't know that yet.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to what do people or companies or your customer or your client, what do they want right now, and what can you provide that is of value? And again, value can be 2% of your, it could be 2%, it could be 100% value, right? But again, you have to be able to extract the value that can be monetized, where somebody can say, I'm going to pay you $5 to get this done for me. Once you get
Absolutely.
that, and people can actually book you and get that done, and then you can say, oh, I'm going to build the next thing within that product that can do this or that can do that, that I'm going to charge $10 for it, which is double, right? And then you get that done, and then that's how you do it. Especially when you don't, if there's investors and all that. But again, if you have the right capital, then your approach will be definitely different. But you got to work within the capital you have, and you got to monetize so you can finance yourself, or else you need to put things down or assets that you have to finance your idea. That's another way. So you got to think founder here. You're founder of EcoPrint, not an engineer. You got to get this product moving, right?
Absolutely.
And how are you going to do that is by, even if you are the engineer, you got to put something out there that you can, we talked about this the last time, put something out there that you can charge a minimal fee for, that is in demand. And then the revenue from that, you can reinvest it into your MVP to make it greater.
Man, I love this from you because these are the questions that, of course, like I need. But also, it's like you just said, you draw your questions. What I notice about them is that you draw that line between engineer and founder. So, no, I just want you to know that doesn't go over my head. I am paying attention when you talk. Like I am seeing what's going on. Yeah, so that's one of the most important things you just mentioned about, of course, the whole thing, it was about value. That's also another point of where I'm saying testing is, like you mentioned, testing is very important because right now I haven't done anything for anyone. So the only thing I can work with is projections based off of my tests. Like I can say, I can help you save this much or optimize by this much over this amount of time, but it's just a projection until I actually get LOIs and really do real work. I can't say anything for certain. So these are things that I am thinking about, definitely.
Always assess what's within your scope, and always assess what value you can derive within your scope and scale. And there are times there are no easy way. You just have to find the resource that you need at that moment. But there are different ways to get it done, right? So if money is the reason why you're being stopped, then what are ways that you can get the revenue you need, right? So that people can get investors. Sometimes a startup owner will sell properties to put it in that, or go get to the point of even getting another job to finance your product or your dream, right? So there are levels to this stuff, and a lot of times what really hurts is the something just dead weight, like it's just stay still and there's no movement. And again, for you as a founder, your movement is creating a value that you can monetize. As an engineer, is moving to the next clarity of your MVP or moving your product forward, right? As a founder is what is the market saying and how can I satisfy it now?
Absolutely. You know what? I can speak a lot to value already. Like even with what I'm building, like I already know that once it's built, people are gonna want it. But also it's good. It's like that was one of the big must-haves for it. Like it had to be modular.
Right.
Because like a lot of these systems are built like with Python with their metrics tracking and stuff like that. And these are now with what I'm building here, those will basically be legacy systems then, because the whole thing is to do what they're doing, but do it faster and do it more accurately. So that's going to be like one of my major tests that I really can't wait to see, is to really run it against what's already there.
And there's so many programs out there as well, Adrian. There's a lot of programs. I think I recently ran into one of them that you technically, they will sponsor you by you pitching your idea, right? So your product, of course, you have something you don't need. What you have is not just an idea, but there's an organization that I ran across. And again, I'll get you all those details on the back end. But there's some organization that I ran across that you literally where you at now. If you feel like you're not moving forward, you can, again, the value that you have now, you can still market that to get a sponsored company or firm that could sponsor you to go to the next level. Because what actually can hinder your product is delay, right? If it takes you 15 years to build it and release it,
It's like,
what happens when you wake up then somebody it beats you to the market, right? So if you have gone to a level where you feel like there is value, you can pitch that value as well to the right channel to get the funding or the expert you need to move to the next step. It's still your product. You just be entering a different negotiation. And then sometimes it's about somebody buying everything you've worked on, and then you go and build the next thing with the revenue. Now you have the money to do it.
No, that would be dope. But
it works.
Man, you haven't seen, I have a whole file on my desktop with just tech ideas that I want to move into eventually. But you know what? I actually went on Y Combinator and I was looking around on there. I didn't apply for anything or that at the time, but just pretty much just getting my feet wet and learning how these different things work. What I like, and I'm not really worried. What you said is a really real thing to me. And it's one of those things that I'm still worried about, but not as much as I was, whereas the delay. And like you said, what happens? The world keeps moving. You're standing still. I don't know, man. I think I'm going to take your advice here on what you just said there. What I've been wanting to do is reach out to investors, and I had a whole list generated. I had to have my pitch deck ready, and I'm just like, is this really the way to do it? So I wasn't sure. So I'm just like, no way, just keep building for now. And when the time is right, it'll just come. Like I'll know when.
And that has to come from inside of you, where you like, I feel like I'm at that point where I know this idea or this concept is valuable. And you have to believe it more than anybody. And then that energy is sometimes what people buy, the belief that it's going to work.
You know what? Now that is something that I'm really good at, obviously. No, the energy. No, like when I talk about this, people want to be involved. Right. So I'm not worried about, say, getting in front of a room full of investors and just speaking on my vision. Like, I already know people are going to feel that's something I definitely have a knack for without trying. But of course, it's still making sure that it's packaged the right way. As you're saying, it offers the proper value. And know what? Actually, there was something else that I wanted to mention to you about that. This probably isn't the part that you're probably as interested in, but it goes into that national defense thing. You know how like they have infrared they have infrared cameras on like satellites, or they can go up on a jet or in a helicopter, and like they can find, say, like drug operations and things like that based off their heat signatures. Another part of that defense use case is, I had to look into this when I found it, because I'm like, don't they already have technology that does this? And they're like, yeah, they do have these technologies, like I just mentioned, satellites and infrared, but they don't have any technology that's API first. that's software first that does this. Where basically we can detect things that go on around the world by its energy signature. As far as like on whether it be on a carbon level or just the PUE, like that type of thing, we can literally, like with this software, there is a potential use case for that type of use of it. So I was like, I think I'm still learning so much about this as I build. And as you said, you have to learn what to focus on and I try to just put stuff on the back burner, but then it nibbles at me and I have to do a little something with it. So I'm just in the next 24 months, I'm most interested in how else this is going to evolve. But I feel like with the track I'm on now, I feel like I'm definitely, like, I don't have a doubt that it's going to make it pretty much because I'm still building, I'm still working on it. And you know what? I think I got to thank you for your support, man. I know I took a second to say that before, but I wasn't expecting like the support that I got from you before. I wasn't. So like when I saw you posting like the extra videos and stuff, I was like,
Right.
what? Like, yeah, thank you. And that really pushed, no, like in that moment, it gives you that energy boost to keep going.
And that's what is our channel for. Because from the last time I brought you in to now, we've also had I think we're about 35,000 subscribers. So thank you if you're listening to subscribing to the channel. And the impact of, as we continue to grow, our revenue continue to grow, we're able to support organizations and people to help them get where they need to by not just saying, okay, there has to be a fee, pay me right now. It's more like building that relationship and making sure things scale. So to all you guys who are contributing, watching this show, we want to thank you and continue to do that because that's how we're able to afford it and get things that we can offer people at no cost.
Definitely.
So as we're rounding up, Adrian, where do you think we're heading to in terms of EcoPrint? Let's say, what will we envision, say, the next time we meet? What do you think that's going to happen?
I can tell you the next time we meet, I'm going to have clients and revenue. That's just, I got to say, that's the MVP for me.
Yes.
That's the ultimate goal right now because that's, like you said, like I said, I'm paying attention to you and I always pay attention, but it's just logical anyway. The first thing I have to do is get clients to get my name out there. From there, world domination.
Guess what? Guess what? Even the world is evolving, things are changing. I can tell you a little, I would say on the other end of the stick or alternative, a client could be easy. It could be as easy as your subscriber. Somebody that follows you and watch what you're doing and listens to you and while you are developing your things, right? So again, don't forget your client is somebody who believes in you and somebody who's going to pour time, resources, energy. So now time also can be a resource, right? So don't forget that. If you have followers, you have clients. And one of the things that you want to do is make sure that people have access to the little that you can provide. And as you walk on growing, it's getting bigger. Let people want to extract the value that they can get from you now. And then you can always continue to add more and more value as things grow and change for you.
Yeah. Hey, can I say
Go ahead.
Can I say one more thing that I did want to touch on while I have the chance?
Right.
Because this is for like founders and people in small business, right? I didn't know better at the time. Of course, I knew better because I have common sense, of course.
Right. Sure.
But being as small as I am and just having this vision that you're eager to get out, there was still the temptation there, even though I knew it was wrong. Just for people that are out there, like small business owners, don't be afraid to say no. If you get a chance for funding or with a bigger company that says they want to invest in you, read. Like, you make sure you go over your contracts, read the terms of that contract. Read it again. Make sure you understand it. And if it isn't in your favor, walk away. Like, you got to just trust that another opportunity will come. I just wanted to put that out there because literally I was in that situation, man. Like,
yeah, that's very good. Yeah, that's very good, Adrian. Thank you for that. Because sometimes your fine print may be different from what you expected. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a good catch. Yeah. So as we come to an end, we want to thank you guys for watching. We know that we'll see more of EcoPrint and mostly as a small business, as EcoPrint continue to thrive and make things happen, you get to see more into how that's done. And again, Adrian, you can EcoPrint can be here, and then the other company you form is the one that actually is going to scale.
Yeah.
So just keep your ideas open and keep making things happen, and let people get a piece of you the sooner that they can get it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your time.
This 60-minute session will help leaders and organizations solve real-world challenges using tailored, AI-driven, strategic solutions. We specialize in business and management consulting, efficiency, scalability, and growth strategies, AI and automation strategy, AI agents, compliance-ready ML tools, workflow automation, executive coaching, leadership readiness, team alignment, and growth mindset, IT and SaaS development, cloud architecture, digital transformation, secure IT design, marketing strategy, AI-powered audience targeting, funnel optimization, brand elevation, change management, digital adoption, stakeholder buy-in, team readiness. Ideal for business owners, government contractors, tech leads, and C-level executives seeking strategy, clarity, and next step solutions. Before the call, to get the most out of this session, please have ready a summary of your business and goals, any relevant documentation or access links, 2 to 3 key questions you want answered, remote, global, certain rules apply according to jurisdiction, starting at $250 per hour Zoom link provided upon confirmation, movie camera explore success stories, youtube.com/@syncconsultants LLC. Let's unlock what's next for your business, your team, and your mission.